Hello, Year 6A. I'm going to try to do a P paragraph for you one more time because it seems you're having a lot of difficulty with this. So follow along here with me. Here's the paragraph that I would write. It is ethical for Roy to help the owls because it shows compassion. On page 54, when Roy is trying to convince his father that he has an obligation to do something, Roy asks his father, "How would you and Mom like it?" This shows that Roy wants his father to put himself in the place of the owls. It's obvious that Roy has done this because he knows it is a good argument. Roy tells his dad to consider if someone came along and kicked him out of his house. Again on page 54, Roy asks him, "How would you feel about that?" This repetition shows that Roy understands how horrible it would be if someone were to take away his home. He's empathizing with the owls, which is the first step to showing compassion. According to the Markkula Center for Applied Ethics, ethical standards include those that enjoin compassion. Roy's actions are the definition of ethical because he felt empathy and acted to help a creature in need. That shows compassion, and compassion is ethical. Now, I want you to look at each of the examples that I used. Example number 1, a quotation from the book, "How would you and Mom like it?" Example number 2, a quotation from the book, "How would you feel about that?" And third, a quotation from the website that I sent you, "Ethical standards include those that enjoin compassion." Enjoin is value, or to say that you should do these things. Now, notice how every one of those examples relates back to it shows compassion. Roy showed compassion because he said, "How would you and Mom like it?" See that? Roy showed compassion because he asked, "How would you feel about that?" And Roy showed compassion because ethical standards say that we should be compassionate. So look at the explanations for each of those examples. Example 1, "How would you and Mom like it?" follows with, "This shows that Roy wants his father to put himself in the place of the owls." It's obvious that Roy has done this because he knows it is a good argument. Roy tells his dad to consider if someone came along and kicked him out of his house. And then again on page 54, the next example, "How would you feel about that?" That example, I say, this repetition shows that Roy understands how horrible it would be if someone were to take away his home. He's empathizing with the owls, which is the first step to showing compassion. And hopefully you can see that that is an explanation of how would you feel about that. And the last example, ethical standards include those that enjoin compassion. The explanation for that is Roy's actions are the definition of ethical because he felt empathy and acted to help a creature in need. This shows compassion, and compassion is ethical. I hope at this point you can see that this paragraph, like every paragraph, will begin with a point. It will have examples to support that point, and it will have explanations of those examples. This is going to be of the number one priority, the top priority that we have in the next everything that we do in English and your other classes. So it is so important that we get this right. So before you go on to the next step, it's important that you understand how a paragraph is constructed.